Hello, everyone. I'm Florida Today engagement editor John A. Torres, and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the 2022 elections. We are proud to present these forums to you in partnership with the League of Women Voters of the Space Coast. And our goal is quite simple, to inform you, the public, before you cast your vote at the August 23rd primary. Now, it's my pleasure today to introduce some of the candidates for County Commission District 4, the seat presently held by the outgoing Kurt Smith. Joining us today are Dave Armstrong and Sandra Sullivan. There are other names on the ballot who we've invited to take part in this, but they declined. So we're just going to start with you two guys, and we're going to give you each 1 minute to make an opening remarks about your background and what makes you qualified to serve. So Dave, we will start with you.
Thank
What
you.
are you qualified to serve?
Well, good morning. My name is Dave Armstrong, and I'm running for County Commission District 4. I'm a businessman in the Melbourne area and have been for the last 33 years in private business and 21 years before that in corporate world. What qualifies me to serve over my candidate is I have a job. I don't need a job. I'm not running for a job. What I'm trying to do is get Brevard in a better place when it comes to physical responsibility and proper leadership on the podium. I'm not running to change things, but I'm running to ask questions. I think we've had examples in the very recent past where it seems like all we do is rubber stamp issues. I'm here to make that a better place for Brevard County.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Sandra Sullivan.
Good morning. I'm Sandra Sullivan for District 4, and I am a business entrepreneur. I've always run my own businesses, and I am a systems analyst. So my expertise is in going into businesses and solving their problems using technology and processes. And I am running to change things. We need to address some very fundamental problems. And my background in attending county commissioner meetings for 4 years, not just the commission meetings, but also transportation planning meetings, Lagoon meetings, budget meetings, has given me the background I need to start day one and be productive in addressing the problems which are being, shall we say, the can is being kicked down the road, especially with infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay, great. And so we're going to be rotating who answers first. So we're going to stay with Sandra for this first question. Sandra, what do you think are the most pressing problems in the county right now, and how would you go about trying to fix them?
I would say the most pressing problem we have right now is our growth, and that affects the infrastructure that we needed. And right now we have impact fees which have not been updated in 15, 20 years. And so this busting of the cap to put to referendum, as has been indicated that their intention is for this November, is to put that burden on the people. And that's just not right. So at least 6 times I've gone to county commissioner meetings requesting that they address the impact fee issue, and I am ignored. So when in 2016, there was a study done that recommended a 66% increase. Now, of course, we can't do that now. Legislation prevents that, but they voted no to any increases. And I have to think it's like the Weston Driftwood vote yesterday. This is about serving the interests of the lobbyists and the developers, and not the people. And we need a government that represents the people.
Okay, thank you. I have some good growth questions later on, so we will hit on that again a little bit later. Up to you now, Dave. What are the most pressing problems, in your opinion, for the county, and how would you go about fixing them?
Well, I think the largest issue is when we have a budget, stick to it. And we have an upcoming planned budget of $1.83 billion. The number one strain on that budget is one of our most important, that being our sheriff. But we've neglected to ask all of these departments, including the sheriff, can we do better with the infrastructure that we have now? Why do we have to already bust the cap from 3% to 7%? And that seems unusual to me, but if you're following staff recommendations and not studying the balance sheet, you will have a problem. That's where private business comes into it. My experience over 33 years in growing a multi-million-dollar company shows that.
Okay, great. Thank you. We are going to stay with you, Dave. This is kind of a tricky and related question, I feel. What works right now in the county, and how would you make it better? What's good right now?
Because of the ways topics are being approached, it's hard to find the good right now. What we need to do is streamline some of the things that we have not done in the past. I believe that our admin side is doing an excellent job. Housing and Human Services are busting, trying to help those get into homes that need homes. But affordable housing needs to be a focus. But through Housing and Human Services, they've done an excellent job in trying to help those that need help and identifying the most valuable recipients of that help.
Okay, Sandra, same question for you.
I would say we live in beautiful Brevard. We have a lot great here. We have an amazing space program. We have beaches. We have strong economic growth. Small businesses are the economic engine, but we have these wonderful industries that we have here too. And so fostering an environment here that makes it attractive for those companies, we have a lot to build on. And Brevard is beautiful.
It certainly is. Okay, switching gears now a little bit, we're going to start with you, Sandra. We know that Brian Lober resigned. He said he had some issues with his family. His office was being audited for expenditures, et cetera. How would you have handled the Brian Lober situation? And are there things the county should have or could have done differently?
Well, okay, so I have my own perspective on this, having attended the meetings. I look at what happened in the context of other things. I mean, what was going on at the time was some controversies with a $500 million lagoon plan, and some controversial things were coming out. I just find the timing of that issue suspect. It raises questions for me. We'll just call them red flags. That I look at the timing on that, and the question is, was it a witch hunt? Because one of the things I was lamenting about at the time was how ARPA money was being spent. He was the only commissioner that spent ARPA in the way that it is required to be spent. It's supposed to be spent for water and sewage. We have other commissioners spending it on widening Ellis Road and on buying heavy equipment, and that's not in if you look at the ARPA documentation, that is not there. So it raises questions. We don't know enough about what that whole P card controversy was about. I do not think he resigned because of his grandmother, but I
think
have
to stop you there, Sandra. I'm sorry, but thank you. Same question, Dave.
Well, the investigation is ongoing, as we know. And there was a clear and concise red line on how to spend the money. It wasn't put out there for buying office chairs or friends and family getting what they need personally. These things, when they have a clear line on what they should be used for, you either use the money properly or turn it back in. And I don't know about his family. I've suffered losses of a 21-year long-term relationship, and my father, I understand that, but work is a haven for me. So I wouldn't understand, quite frankly, why he would resign for those reasons, but they're personal and it's ongoing.
Okay, thank you. We are going to stay with you, Dave, for this one. You referenced the county budget earlier. In terms of the budget, what would you prioritize?
Well, obviously we have to prioritize our health and safety. We need to prioritize our water management. We have put way too much money into studying the lagoon problem and way too little in producing results. It is well known you've got to start correcting the problem. It's going to be a long-term correction, and we need a scientific background for that. But we have enough background that we should see operations working every single day that we go to work and we pass by these barges and these dredging operations. You can't put this on the back burner, and you can't take this money and spend it frivolously. And when there's been requests for how the money's been spent, the requests have cost one of them up to $1,000. That's ridiculous.
Okay, thank you. Sandra, what would you prioritize in the county budget?
Well, the most important one, as I see it, is infrastructure. Going back to that fundamental issue of why we're even looking at doing away with the charter cap. And that comes back to the cost of infrastructure. We're still putting growth on plants that are at 86% capacity. We have been kicking the can down the road for a long time. And that cost is a very important one. So we need to address the impact fees and have an impact fee study. That's being proactive management. We also need to address healthcare costs because that is through the roof. So we have to find ways of addressing that issue with the county. The lagoon is a very big one. From my perspective, in looking into this issue very deeply, I have some very deep concerns that we are not getting the citizen oversight, nor what is in the contract for the audit. And so that's $500 million, probably be closer to $800 million. And it is, in my opinion, based on my research, it is being mismanaged. We definitely need to solve the actual problems and follow science. And then employee retention.
Okay, that's time, Sandra. I'm sorry, but thank you. We are going to stay with you for this next question. And again, for whoever just tuned in, I'm sorry, Abe, about being such a hard guy with the time, but we have to try to have this all fit into a 28-minute span here. So it's been a hellish few years with COVID, and we're still seeing the fallout from that. Sandra, how would you plan to help the disadvantaged in our community?
Oh, well, that brings us to one of the biggest issues we have is because of the rapid inflation, which isn't going away. We have a housing crisis, and that's exacerbated also by the amount of investors that are coming in and buying up real estate here. So now almost 20% of homes now in Brevard are investor owned. And that makes it more challenging too for the people that are coming here wanting to buy homes. So some of the places have, found ways of addressing that. And that's something I want to work with the state government too on maybe some legislation to kind of not to say that investors can't own, but we want to be definitely looking at foreign ownership if that's taking away from the American dream of owning a home and raising your family. So just affordable housing.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, Dave?
Well, I'll tie this into the cost of housing. I guess I'm disclosed that I've been a builder for 33 years. And the problem we have with housing right now, in my opinion, it's free in America to do what you want. And if an investor wants to come into an area and buy housing, to me, that is their freedom to do that. We cannot control that. That should not be something that we try to control. Impact fees, we can put those on the shelf for right now. I would encourage our government to put impact fees on the shelf. A house pays for itself. I've been going back and forth with commissions for over 30 years. We have more than enough money without impact fees with as many houses are being built right now. So impact fees should be put on the table and we can reduce the price of affordable housing.
Okay, thank you, Dave. We are going to stay with the same topic here. Do you think that the county should be doing more to either build, support, create low-income housing opportunities for the average working stiff?
Is that me first?
Yes.
My
Sorry.
apology. There is a lot of ways to do that. And the county has developed land through the Housing and Human Services. And I doubt that property is even built on yet. We have money coming into the county as we speak. Aiello County, for example, is already building 3 apartment complexes, which is one of the best ways to put more people in a house, because you don't have a single family, you don't have a garage to worry about, and they've already slated for 3. We should bring that money into Brevard, using it wisely through the housing and human services to build complexes that will house more than just one family at a time.
Okay, thank you. Sandra, the same question, low-income housing.
There's something called a community land trust, and I recently attended the meeting that they had for affordable housing, the committee that sits on it for the county. And there's this concept called community land trust, and I really like the setup where the county owns land and does a private public partnership. So this land is designated; it has to remain in the pool of affordable housing. And the county would own that, but work with a builder and or some of the nonprofits that are here that are in that market already and have an established reputation and a track record of meeting the needs of that community and just need more funding. And so I think that is a perfect way that we could accomplish this without and helping. But I also want to rebut Dave's point regarding we do not have enough money for infrastructure, and that all ties into all of this too, because as costs rise through inflation and passing on the costs to the residents here, the homeowners, it's going to exacerbate the affordable housing issues.
So Dave, you have an opportunity here to answer that rebuttal if you wish.
Well, I know that there's a lot of money collected through the impact fees. This morning, I wrote 2 checks for $5,800 a piece, and they're for 2 homes here in Brevard. And we know that housing pays for itself. The average house will spend $10,000 after they purchase their home in buying furniture, appliances, etc. Housing pays for itself. Fishkind report has been brought before the county 25 years ago, and that report is still available.
Okay, we are going to move on here. You both have referenced the Indian River Lagoon. Here's a chance to expand a little bit more on that. What would you try to do immediately, long-term, to try and fix our problems with the lagoon? And we're starting with Sandra, I think. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, when you look at the lagoon issues and you look at why is failing, we've lost 96% of the seagrass, which is the foundational species to life in the lagoon. So it's not just manatees are dying; it's fish. The lagoon is very much dying, and we need changes to do that. Now, what I find is very interesting is this decline began in 2011. If you look at the charts and the rapid coming down, and the reason for that, I believe, and science is catching up with this hypothesis, is that the state switched from mechanical harvesting, laid off 1,300 workers, and switched to broadcast spraying of herbicides. And herbicides, the science is showing, kills seagrass, persists in salt water, and also it feeds algae blooms. And so we're not even addressing that. And the county increased their herbicide budget by 2.5 times last year.
Okay, Dave, it's up to you now. What would you do with the lagoon, long-term or short-term? What's your plan?
Well, first of all, we always condemn and say the septic tanks are the problem. They could be part of the problem, but they're not the largest of the problems. We've read many articles in Florida today about the beaches where this pipe and that pipe broke and put 70 to 100,000 gallons of sewage straight into the river, and then they got fined $700. You know, if that was me as a builder, I'd be underneath the jailhouse right now. But what we've got here is transparency. We have not gotten transparency for the money being spent on the lagoon. And every time we try to get that transparency, it's not being given in a reasonable fashion, a reasonable timeline, and a reasonable expense.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to start here with Dave. Back to the growth and all that here in the county. how would you have voted on that $30 million marketing grant from for the Cocoa Beach Westin Hotel project that was approved yesterday, and why?
Well, I would have voted no. Doing a background check on the developer, he is a very large developer. He's one of the top 10 in the nation. A stipend of that nature coming out of the tax base of Brevard County is, in my understanding, foolishness. And secondly, they've already accommodated by making considerations for a bigger building, a taller building, and they've already went through a dynamic amount of changes to accommodate this developer. To give him $30 million, in my opinion, is ludicrous. And I was very surprised. I wasn't very surprised when I see it rubber stamped across the board.
Okay, thank you. Sandra, same question, please.
I would not have approved it. I've been very vocal on this issue from the very beginning. This started as an $80 million ask. The company has had a very poor track record of delivering on its commitment. For 8 months, they promised the Johnson & Johnson report so that the county could do an independent analysis of it. That report never materialized, and so that part of the checks and balance went away. I was really shocked to see this come back onto the table, given how this went down the first time. Actually, one of the commissioners said, we just want the circus to end because there was so much opposition to it. This is a bad deal. A lobbyist, Knox, he wrote the contract. Who in the right mind, as an entity for the county, takes a contract written by a lobbyist and doesn't properly vet it? We don't even have a county attorney right now, and the contract is open-ended. They can use the expenses for things that are not marketing. It's a bad deal for Brevard, and it's a bad contract.
Great, Sandra. Thank you. I have a follow-up on that. What do you think about the influence of developers and lobbyists on the county commissioners? Do you think that a few individuals have too much influence?
Am I first?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Sandra, you're first.
So I, in going to those meetings for years, have seen a number of really bad deals where these lobbyists and developers have too much influence. And you see this, and when getting deals that are not good for Brevard. I can give you an example. So we approved so they could get government bonds at a lower rate of interest. And both Tobiah and Lober advocate very strongly that this was our opportunity to get a better deal get a good deal for Brevard, to where we could get a stop on Brightline, and also address the fact that we have small cities that are going to be responsible for the at-grade crossings, and getting some financial assistance from Brightline to take over that responsibility. And so they passed that through the same 3 commissioners. There's also a towing resolution that was brought, a resolution written by a lobbyist that was not vetted and put on the agenda, that was put on there to vote. That's just not a way to do business.
Okay, Dave, same question. Is there too much influence right now from our lobbyists and developers?
Well, over the past 30 years, working with the local Home Builders Association, Florida Home Builders, and National Home Builders, you're always going to have lobbyists. But it's the due diligence that commission should be using to take that lobbyist considerations, but make darn sure that the considerations are not influential, but they're fact-finding. Now, my problem with a lot of this is transparency. I've been going to the county commissioner meetings for almost 32 years as a president of the Home Builders, 3 times out of 25 years. And I can tell you, they will listen to you, but as I seen the other day, they can always be mean to you, and that's not the respect we need when we ask for questions. We should have the answers as commissioners, and we should not be rubber stamping money to be spent unwisely.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you'll, both be happy to know that you've made it through my gauntlet of questions. You're off the hot seat. Now you each get 1 minute to tell the voters why they should be voting for you. So we're going to start with Sandra, and then we will go to Dave. You each get 1 minute. Okay, Sandra, why should we vote for you?
Because I'm the most experienced candidate. I've been going to the meetings for the past 4 years as a full-time basis, as a volunteer. I'm not seeking this position for the money. I've been doing it as a volunteer for 4 years. And so that means I can start day one and I can be productive. It's not going to take me 2 years, as Robin Fisher said, to ramp up to be effective. You know, I have the experiences from attending the budget meetings, the Lagoon meetings, the transportation meetings. I know what the needs of Brevard, and I know what needs to be addressed. And we got some hard decisions ahead of us, but I stand for fiscal integrity, fiscal responsibility, number one. I will not kick the can down the road. I will not support increasing your property taxes. And key to my platform is accountability and transparency. And I am a problem solver with a business background. So you're getting someone who has a very good background in exactly that can come in here and solve problems. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dave. Why should we vote for you?
I am a long-term resident of Brevard County, 65 years. I've raised 3 dynamic daughters in the environment that they have to go out and make their own. And they all make substantial incomes because I insisted on them learning the hard way to do the hard things, and then it will come back to you through proper education. I am a businessman. I run a company. I hear all about meetings and this and that and the other thing. They're important, but to get something done, you have to have a good county commission. You can't just hire me and not hire somebody else that can help turn that board. You've got to have 2 new pieces of blood on that board that know the county, that have built from Titusville all the way down through Sebastian. We know the districts, and we're trying to do the best we can within the budget we have.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much on behalf of Florida Today, the League of Women Voters of the Space Coast, and our friends over at Eastern Florida State College. We thank you for attending this, answering the questions, and we thank you, our viewers, for watching this. And remember, August 23rd, please go out there and vote. Thank you very much.